Hey chemistry, this is KJ here going over lesson 7.04 carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Our first vocab word is biochemistry. It is the study of chemicals that are important to living things. Specifically, we're going to talk about the structures and properties of biological compounds, and we're going to talk about the chemical reactions that making and breaking down biological compounds. So in other words, all the chemical reactions that happen inside your body that help keep you alive. Now, I know you went over a bunch of this in biology class last year, but we're going to be talking about the chemistry side of it more. And so I'm hoping you can incorporate everything you've learned this year and just kind of get a different appreciation for the carbs, fats, and proteins. And I know you learned about them in health class too. So I realize some will be a review, but again, I tried to focus more on the chemistry side of them. In fact, you can have an entire degree where it's biochemistry. It's specifically how chemistry relates to life. So let's talk about carbohydrates. They're the main source of energy for your body. An example is a monosaccharide. So mono meaning how many? One. And so we call it a simple sugar. Examples are glucose, galactose, and fructose. Glucose, which you definitely should remember from biology class, is C6H12O6. The source of energy for all living things through aerobic or anaerobic respiration. In case you forgot, aerobic means with oxygen, and meaning the opposite, anaerobic means without oxygen. And here is a glucose molecule, which you can look at and say, oh, it's a cyclic hydrocarbon with some oxygens in there and some OHs as well. Disaccharides contain two sugars, for example, lactose, maltose, and sucrose, which is table sugar. So you take glucose, they react, so the different sides react, and it gives off water. I know that cut off a little bit. There we go. And that allows them to bond together. So now it is a disaccharide. And obviously there's a lot more to this and a lot of explanation, but we're just going over a preview of organic chemistry in this class. You can also have a polysaccharide because poly means how many? Many. So they contain many sugar monomers, right? Remember monomers come together, bond together to make polymers. So glucose would be our monomer. And when we put a bunch of them together, we have a polymer. And this polymer that I'm showing you here is starch. So I'm sure you've heard of corn starch, maybe even potato starch. So this would be a starch. Lipids. Lipids are large molecules with lots of energy that are insoluble in water. Soluble means can dissolve. In, opposite of, so lipids cannot dissolve in water. Examples are triglycerides, fats and oils. They're made of a glycerol molecule and 3, for the tri, long fatty acid chains. All right, so if we look at this, we know that every corner has what element? Carbon. And we know that right here we have what kind of bond? A double bond. You can also write them out like this. So here we can see our glycerol with our fatty acid chains hooked on. Sometimes it's written like this. And of course, shown in more of equation form. So again, different ways to show the same thing in chemistry. Triglycerides can be saturated, which means they are all single bonds. Like up here, all single bonds, nice straight chains, or they can be unsaturated, which means they have one or more double bonds. So unsaturated meaning full, unsaturated meaning we have that double bond, another hydrogen could come in. And then you get those kinks in the molecule where double bonds are. Again, two different ways to show it. And those are the healthier. So this is an avocado, in case you couldn't tell, because your body does need fat. Your brain needs fat. I'm sure you've heard of omega-3 and other types of healthy fats. The problem with a lot of Americans is that there's way too much of the unhealthy fats, which taste delicious, but cause obesity because too many are eaten and all those kind of issues. So you definitely do need healthy fat, though, in your diet. Another example of a lipid is a wax, for example, in plants or animals. So wax is a long chain alcohol plus a carboxyl group, ooh, that's one of our functional groups, of a fatty acid. So big examples, I always think of honeybees with wax, but plants. A lot of plants have a waxy coating on the outside, and that helps with moisture. Another example of lipids are phospholipids. So phospho meaning they contain what? Phosphorus. And they are strong, flexible part of the cell membrane. So you've seen this picture a lot last year. We have our two layers and we have our phospholipids. So again, an important part of your body is fat. We need those strong yet flexible cell membranes. Steroids are another example of lipids. Cholesterol is a good example. And cholesterol is a base of many hormones as well as blood cholesterol. So I'm sure you've heard of like good cholesterol and bad cholesterol and all the fats in your blood. And here's the cholesterol molecule. But again, your body needs some cholesterol because that's also where it makes a lot of your hormones, which not only have to do with developing and whether you're male or female, but with growth and a whole bunch of other processes in your body. All right, proteins. Functions of proteins include structure. So they make up many parts of your cells in your body, such as hair, bones, and muscle. And I listed a whole bunch of examples. I always like the snake venom picture. I think it's just so cool. So here's a snake fang and a drop of the poison. So venom is a protein that's hazardous to other living things. Another function besides structure is enzymes, biological catalysts that speed up chemical reactions within cells. They can transport hemoglobin in your blood to transport carbon dioxide and oxygen. I already talked about toxins and venoms. And messages, again, hormones transmit signals from one cell to another. So there's many more in your body. There's the antibodies, talk about the different types of proteins like the receptor proteins, your actin and myosin, in your muscles, keratin for hair and nails. We talked about hemoglobin. We have channel proteins, enzymes in your saliva help break down your food, stomach, small intestine, all that good stuff, and copying genes during cell division. So a ton of work. Feel free to hit pause and read through them some more if you would like. Now, proteins are made from amino acids, and the amino acids are the monomers, right? We put these little parts together. They form a peptide. When you have a whole bunch of these put together, you have a polypeptide, which will then form a protein. Amino acids are made of hydrogen, NH2, COOH, and an R group. So the COOH is our carboxyl group, and that's the acidic portion of it. On the opposite end, we have our amino group, the NH2, which is the basic end. So again, acids and bases relating in here. Now we also have the R group. The R group is a functional group. So amino acids have their own functional group. There's 20 of them, and that's how the 20 different amino acids are formed. And you can divide them into different categories, polar and nonpolar. So polar meaning they have a positive end and a negative end. Nonpolar means pretty much neutral all over. Aromatic, oh, what does aromatic mean? Means it's a ring and they have some double bonds. We have the flat out positively charged, which are more basic, and the flat out negatively charged, which are more acidic. So all these different functional groups are called the R group on the amino acids, and the different amino acids are monomers, which again, together make up peptides, which then make up proteins. We also have nucleic acids. I know this one wasn't in the title, but I felt weird not including it. So nucleic acids, a subunit, a nucleic acid that consists of a phosphate group, so phosphorus, a 5-carbon sugar, and a nitrogenous base. So we have our purines, which are 2 ringed structures. So we have our A and our G here, adenine and guanine. And they're chemically different than our pyrimidines, which are simply a single ring structure, our cytosine, thymine, and uracil. So again, uracil is part of your RNA. And of course, these also make up your DNA, right? Nucleic acids, DNA, RNA, and they're made up of nucleotides. So the nucleotides are the monomers for nucleic acids. So again, we have our parts, we're putting them together to make something larger. So a really short review of these things, because I know you learned about them in health class and biology. I just wanted you to see more of the chemistry side of them. All right, if you have questions, let me know.